We have heard the arguments and we have established the facts. We now all await the resolved voice of this court. The Elgin marbles are in the lawful and rightful possession of the British Museum.
I am here today on behalf of the people of Greece and on behalf of the woman I love. And I beseech you all of a serious crime.
Θα σου πω μια ιστορία, παιδί μου, που αρχίζει σε μια εποχή πριν γνωρίσουμε τη χάρη της Αθηνάς. Τότε που ήμασταν χαμένοι. Άνδρες θυσίασαν τη ζωή τους στο όνομά της, έτσι ώστε τα παιδιά των μαρμάρων να μπορούν για πάντα να ευημερούν κάτω από τη σκιά του δέντρου της ελιάς. Αθηνά, θεωμένους και αραστάς γερωμένους αυτής. Και όταν η μην μεγάλη δόξη είναι, ενθυμωμένος ότι ο τολμώντες και οι γιγνώσκοντες τα δέονταν. Και εν της έργης εσχυνόμενοι, αυτά έκτισαν.
Move your hand. And Athena will help you.
I see you moved your office.
I like to keep a close eye on things now. It's getting worse out there. Every day now it seems to be getting worse. So, is it good?
I think we have something.
Show me.
You recall the Hunt letter? The first line of the second paragraph states in Italian, and I quote, "We therefore have written this letter to you and expedited it by N.N. It is undated and does not bear a signet." Now look what I've just discovered. This is the Ottoman letter that was translated from Italian into Turkish to be approved by the Grand Vizier himself. It was long thought to have disappeared until now. Look here. At the bottom, it is signed by a wax signet confirmed to be by Segded Abdullah and is dated July 9th, 1801. But more importantly, it identifies the courier as Mehmed Rashid Aga. Take a look at this copy of the letter that Reverend Hunt submitted to Parliament in 1816. This is the solitary proof that the British Museum has used to maintain possession of the Parthenon marbles for the last 200 years. The first line of the second paragraph, the name has been changed. "We therefore have written this letter to you and expedited it by Mr. Philip Hunt, an English gentleman, secretary of the aforesaid ambassador, Lord Elgin." This is a forgery.
I knew it all to be a lie right from the beginning.
With these three documents, we can prove the Parthenon marbles were stolen and illegally traded artifacts, and currently remain as falsely possessed property within the British Museum.
Taurocatapsios. You have the scent of blood in your nostrils. Andreas, I brought you in because of your reputation for results. And so far, you have given me some reason to hope again. But as chaos breaks upon the foot of my temple of ethos, I also have a reason to hesitate.
I can win this.
That's your problem, my friend. Believe me, one thing I've learned is that the British Museum will never give back the marbles voluntarily. It is in their interest to ignore us, to treat us like children. It will take nothing less than a champion to lead the way forward.
I promise you, we'll have the accolades of victory.
Justice is what the people want. And it is what I want.
Έφερα ένα κρασί από την Αίγινα. May it bring you peace and our pieces. So it's fallen to us. I'd say it's about time that someone took a stand for true justice. Τα μάτια σου 14. If we're not careful, the British will chop us up and put us on display in the Duveen Gallery.
You look better in one piece. humanity, see?
So, the Ottoman document is not a Frimant.
Eleni, I need these posted. And you forgot to sign these.
Okay. Well, let me know if there's anything.
Of course. Παρακαλώ. Μάλιστα. Τέλεια. No, that won't be necessary. I've just made some compelling discoveries myself that will prove to be decisive. Like I said before, all I can say at this time is that I'm in the process of building the case for the return. You can print that too if you want. Okay. Thank you.
Be seated.
Your Lordship, I would like to present the court with 3 incriminating documents that implicate the counterparty and contest the ownership of the so-called Elgin marbles. Please state your full name for the record.
Richard Detweiler.
Are you employed by the British Museum?
I am.
What is your position?
Her Majesty's representative, the keeper of the Roman, Egyptian, Asiatic, and Greek antiquities at the British Museum, Great Russell Street, London.
And how long have you been so employed?
39 years.
You are familiar, sir, with the sculptures known as the Parthenon marbles.
I am familiar with Lord Elgin's collection, yes.
Under what authority does the British Museum retain this collection in perpetuity?
If I was to be asked so bluntly, sir, by Act of Parliament.
By Act of Parliament, are you referring to the settling of Elgin's debt by the Assembly in 1816?
No. I am referring to the bestowal of the antiquities by the British people upon the museum for safekeeping and restoration.
So this gives the right of possession?
Yes. In perpetuity.
Let me ask you this. If someone stole from you and then sold your property to someone else, don't you think that you would have some grounds to ask for it back?
Answer the question.
The marbles were not stolen, sir. Lord Elgin's collection was lawfully obtained with permission from none other than the highest authority of the Ottoman Empire.
Document number 1. The Hunt letter. Can you identify this document?
Yes, it's the Hunt letter.
That's right. What does the Hunt letter state?
The Hunt letter states the permission granted to Lord Elgin to remove the sculptures from the Acropolis where the Parthenon resides.
Can you refer me specifically to the part that says that?
Don't be absurd, it's written in Italian.
That's right. And if I may quote a translation from your office, the letter makes a request for permission to contemplate, mold, and measure the sculptures. Remove?
Yes, but that's not the only clause in the letter. The following clause is of particular note.
I'm glad that you brought that up, Mr. Detweiler. I'll read it to you. It declares that while they may, quote, dig the foundations to find inscribed bricks, which may have been preserved in the rubbish, when they wish to take away some pieces of stone with old inscriptions and figures, that no opposition be made. Now, as an expert in the carrying and management of ancient antiquities, could you tell me what bricks they were referring to?
It's not particularly specific.
I think that this document sounds more like a permission letter for sailors on a Grecian holiday than a license to loot ancient artifacts. When you agree...
Mr. Orestes, I believe you've made your point.
I am neither nautically inclined, nor do I take my holidays in Greece, so I'm not qualified to speculate on your ignominious question.
Can you tell me when this letter was written?
July 1801.
How do you know that?
Well, it was made as a translation from the Turkish order.
What if I were to tell you you're wrong, and that it is not a translation of the Turkish order, but rather the other way around?
Then I should think you to be very self-ingratiating. Besides, you have no way of proving your theory. The Greeks callously burnt all the evidence in their revolt of 1821.
That's a very convenient story that I'm sure you would like to believe. But I have a surprise for you. Document number 2. The Mektub. Name, please.
Hamid Jibril Aga.
What is your position?
I am the custodian of historical records of the Palace of Topkapi in Istanbul, Turkey.
What do your duties as custodian of the records entail?
It is my sacred responsibility to categorize, maintain, and safekeep all decrees and royal mandates of the Imperial House of Osman, specifically pertaining to the reign of Sultan Selim III.
And what have you brought with you today?
I have brought with me a mektub from a lost collection of documents belonging to the Ottoman governor of Athens. It states the material term of Lord Elgin's wish to contemplate, mold, and measure the sculptures.
So you're telling us that this is a mektub?
Yes.
Can you clarify the difference between a mektub and a firman for us?
Yes, certainly. Well, a mektub is an order issued by the vizier himself. And a firman is, well, a more sacred or holy document. It is what we would call the will of Allah, transcribed by the Sultan himself. And as you requested, I have here a firman belonging to the reign of Sultan Selim III. This firman is dated to 1792 and is addressed to the French ambassador. In the beginning, the Sultan starts by calling for Allah for divine inspiration. And onto the lower part of the page, he transcribes and interprets the message. And as you can see, it starts with Allahu Akbar, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Ashhadu anna la ilaha illallah wa anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. And it goes on to say I, the righteous, the destined, am instructed by sacred law and commitment to the power I serve to rain goodness upon my empire. And it is through this duty that I call upon Allah for His wisdom and blessing upon this decree. And then Allah specifically instructs the Sultan to give the French ambassador tax immunity. On the other hand, the Mektub starts with a long diplomatic sentence, which resembles more like a permission letter for a tourist. And it is contextually and grammatically distinct from the more religiously themed Firman.
Ahmed, in the first line of the second paragraph of the Mektub, who is identified as the courier?
It is Mehmet Rashid Aga.
Thank you, Ahmed. That will be all.
Thank you as well. And at this moment, the Republic of Turkey would like to make a formal inquiry as to when the British Museum intends to bring the pieces remaining of the Mausoleum of Halicarnassus to its native land.
It has been duly noted, Ahmed. Thank you. Mr. Detweiler, I'm now going to ask you about the second page of the Hunt letter. On page 2, in the first line of the second paragraph, who is identified as the courier?
NN, non nullus. It's Latin for someone.
Someone. Why not Mehmed Rashid Aga?
I don't know.
Maybe that means that the Hunt letter is not a translation of the permission, but it is rather the first draft. But if that was the case, then what would happen when Hunt returned to England with only this unsigned first draft? What proof would he have for the Select Committee of Parliament? And document number 3, the English translation. I have here excerpts from the 1816 Select Committee hearings that I will submit into evidence. On pages 35 and 142, respectively, Lord Elgin and Reverend Hunt admit they did not have permission to remove the marbles. They confess that through the explicit use of bribery, they obtained the marbles from Greece. But that leaves us with a problem. Neither Hunt nor Elgin had a copy of any kind of written permission to corroborate their story. All Hunt had was an Italian first draft that he kept in his personal possession.
Would you hurry up and come to the point?
This is the English translation of Reverend Philip Hunt's letter that he submitted as solitary evidence for the acquisition of ownership of the marbles of the Parthenon. If you could please direct your attention to the first line of the second paragraph of Hunt's new letter, the so-called English translation. Who is indicated as the courier?
Philip Hunt, an English gentleman, secretary to the aforesaid ambassador, Lord Elgin.
I want to ask you honestly, why do you think that the third document, Hunt's English version, indicates that he is the courier at the time and that the verified signet is from Sigded Abdullah Kaimakam?
I don't believe I have to answer that question.
Mr. Detweiler, do I need to remind you that you are here under subpoena and you must answer me?
Mr. Aristus, you need to back down.
Isn't it clear that this is a forgery and the marbles were taken unlawfully by bribery?
This is offensive, sir.
Can't
if you do not curtail your brazen behavior this instant, this deposition will be over. Now, do you have any further questions for my client?
Just one more, for the record. Does the British Museum have any intention of ever returning the Parthenon marbles to Greece with lawful title?
No. The only way the marbles will be loaned to Greece is if the Acropolis Museum in Athens agrees that the marbles are, and will always be, the property of the British Museum.
Monsieur Rapidakis, could you please share with us your qualifications and describe what you've brought for us today?
I have a PhD in structural engineering and classical architecture from La Sorbonne. And for the past 13 years, I've overseen the Parthenon reconstruction and preservation program on the Acropolis of Athena. I have brought a simulation which will help you see the Parthenon the way I see it. And so the buildings arose, as imposing in their sheer size as they were inimitable in the grace of their outlines.
Can you walk us through the taking of each of the sculptural programs by Lord Elgin's men in 1801?
The temple's most imposing segments are the two pediments.
As the sun rose up in the east, it would have illuminated the immaculate birth of Athena, the newborn goddess of justice.
On the west,
the contest of Athena and Poseidon, her victory, which earned her the namesake of the city.
Of the many meanings that the Parthenon conceals, one of the most salient is represented in its outer and inner sculptural programs.
Originally, on the outer layer of the Parthenon, there were 92 individual blocks of solid marble, each weighing over 2 tons. The metapiece depicts the struggle between human spirit and animal nature,
as represented here by this Lapith man fighting a centaur.
In order for Elgin to remove the metapiece, sections of the entablature of the building had to be removed by his men and dropped 15 meters to the ground where they were smashed.
And the frieze?
This is the inner layer of the temple.
115 blocks of marble at a total length of 160 meters. Here, seen as was intended, high off the ground, not on the floor.
Its meaning is still somewhat of a mystery. However, it could be the representation of the sacrifice of the daughters of the king Erechtheus. As the story goes, the daughters of Erechtheus willingly gave up their lives in order to save the city. Or it could be the representation of the first Pan-Athenian procession, depicting the enlightened citizens of Athens honoring their goddess Athena. If I may add, this is exactly why reunifying the marbles would be a tremendous help for people like myself, my colleagues, the global community of archaeologists. It would help us investigate the proper sequence of those slabs and rediscover a knowledge that otherwise would be lost. In any case, the 2 layers of the temple served as the first line of defense and the first line of support, protecting the sacred chamber within.
Michel, in your opinion, did the removal process compromise the temple's structural integrity?
The structure of the building was certainly compromised, and the removal of the large cornices above the frieze left the building underneath exposed to more weather erosion.
Thank you.
One more thing. I've studied the Parthenon for over 3 decades. We often think of it as merely a building whose value is derived from its aesthetics. But in fact, what marks its significance is not its symmetry or its ideal proportions, but rather the message that was lifted up on high by those marble pillars. In my opinion, the removal of the Parthenon marbles did incomparably more damage than the explosion that destroyed the inner colonnade. It erased the very thing that the building was built for in the first place. Thank you.
Your Lordship, the facts as they have been presented in this court are beyond dispute. Fact number one, the letter of permission is a mektub and not a firman. Fact number two, the language of the mektub was abused and in conjunction with the use of bribery facilitated the looting of the marbles of the Parthenon. Fact number three, the looting of the marbles left the building structurally compromised. Fact number four, both Lord Elgin and Reverend Hunt admitted they did not have permission and that they resorted to the use of bribery to obtain the marbles. And fact number five, which is the most damning, Reverend Hunt committed forgery when he submitted to Parliament a doctored translation as proof of purchase. It has therefore been made abundantly clear that Parliament's Act of 1816 is not valid, that it is derived from an illegitimate authorization, from a foreign occupier claimant to that false right of possession of the property of the people of Athena, and that the British Museum is under no authority whatsoever to maintain possession of the antiquities belonging to Greece and her Hellenic peoples. Case in point, evidence of perjury, larceny, forgery, and transgression of sovereignty transfers severe liability upon the implicated party who was in willful possession of stolen goods. It is therefore in the best interests of that implicated party to adhere to the rule of law and for this court to exercise jurisprudence. Your Lordship, the prosecution rests.
My Lord High Commissioner, ladies and gentlemen of Her Majesty's Court, this has been a rather interesting and in some ways entertaining historical exercise on behalf of our colleagues from Greece. One might say a long-winded detour into the pages of the past. So for the sake of brevity, the defense would like to make the following concessions. We will concede that the Reverend Philip Hunt did indeed commit forgery in his submission to Parliament, that the mektub is of course not a firman from the Sultan, and that the building was damaged by the removal process. However, thanks to the diligent work of our accusers, we now have the definitive evidence that Lord Elgin and his expedition had the permission to remove whatever they should like from the Acropolis of Ottoman-administered Athens. The defense would therefore like to suggest an immediate motion for dismissal of these charges.
Your Lordship, you cannot allow this. You will restrain yourself immediately. I will not
be silenced.
Mr. Orestes.
This court needs to take action now.
By the principle of chevron
You
deference.
insufferable imperialist.
Sir, you will address the members of this court in a manner which reflects the sacred charge which it defends.
Sacred charge?
Mr. Orestes, if you do not behave yourself instantly, you may be held in contempt.
You have before
this
you
court will have the
proof.
prosecution silenced immediately. It is the prerogative of this court to judge whether or not progressive action is appropriate. This matter of stewardship of these sculptures is not fit for this court of justice, but rather is a dispute to be settled between the two museums. This case is dismissed.
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Είμαι να Amen, ici.
Και εν της έργης εσχυνόμενοι. Αυτά έκτισαν.
Έλα, Σοφία μου. Ναι. Εντάξει, φτάσαμε. Καλά είμαι. Καλά είμαι, μην ανησυχείς. Τέλος πάντων, εντάξει, θα τα πούμε από κοντά. Ναι, το ξέρω. Τι θες να σου πω τώρα? Μην ανησυχείς. Καλά, Σοφία μου, εντάξει. Εντάξει. Θα τα πούμε αύριο, εντάξει. Καλό βράδυ.
Η Ελένη μου είπε ότι δουλεύετε μαζί. Ένας δικηγόρος που θέλει να κάνει καλό μέσα στην κρίση.
Ευχαριστώ, Περσεφόνη μου.
I'm sorry. I've never seen this side of Greece.
This is not Greece. This is something else. These new tankers can move 80 million gallons of oil. The truth which you fail to understand is that no ancient stores are going to wake up this generation. The damage that time has done, it's irreparable. It's like a wound that has bled out. A city without a soul. It's just a mob.
That's nice.
Let's go. It is not in my nature to be so generous. But I'm willing to consider giving you a position as a lead counsel in this big deal I'm working out with some Russian friends.
It's funny. The British made off with the history, Germans on the banks and the land. The Russians are going to buy the gas. Seems like all of Greece is for sale.
I was about your age when Huda fled and abandoned us to the Turks. Forced out of our homes, defeated, humiliated. It was then that being Greek no longer meant anything to me. In fact, in the world today, being Greek is being stigmatized. The hardest times are ahead. You should get out while you can.
I'm sorry. I don't know if I can help you.
I'm the only one who can help you.
No, you're not.
Get off my boat.
Τι κάνετε? Καλά. Η μαμά κοιμάται? Ναι. Θα σου δώσω ένα φρουτάκι? Ναι. Έλα.
Σοφία, η κυβέρνησή μας δεν είναι σε θέση να παράγει ηγέτες.
Μια κοινωνία γίνεται μεγάλη όταν ηλικιωμένοι άντρες φυτεύουν δέντρα στον οποίο τις σκιές ξέρουν ότι ποτέ δεν πρόκειται να καθίσουν.
Νομίζω ότι ακολουθείς τα βήματα του Περικλή.
Του Περικλή? Ξέρεις, οι πρόγονοί μας πριν από εκείνον ήθελαν να αφήσουν την Ακρόπολη ερείπιο, όπως την άφησαν οι Πέρσες, αφού την έκαψαν στη θέμελα. Σήμε τραγική υπενθύμηση, για να μην είναι ποτέ ξανά υπερβολικά υπερήφανοι ή υπερβολικά τολμηροί. Ο Περικλής τους έκανε να καταλάβουν ότι η αληθινή δικαιοσύνη της Αθήνας έπρεπε να φανεί προτού μπορέσουν να πιστέψουν και πάλι σε αυτή.
Ένα σύμβολο.
Και έτσι έχεις τον πολύτιμο Παρθενώνα σου. Σήμερα ένα ερείπιο.
Δεν μπορώ να πιστέψω ότι όλα χάνονται.
Αυτή η συζήτηση έχει τελειώσει.
Ναι, αλλά δεν έχετε εξετάσει όλες τις επιλογές μας.
Δεν έχω χρόνο γι' αυτό.
Μα υπάρχει ακόμα μια πιθανότητα για έφεση. Γιάννη. Γιάννη, γίνεσαι παράλογος.
Όλες οι πιθανότητες θα είναι εναντίον σου. Πραγματικά, περίμενες ότι ένα δικαστήριο στο εξωτερικό θα απέδιδε δικαιοσύνη σε εμάς? Πρέπει να παλέψει τη δική σου δικαιοσύνη. Εσύ και εγώ είμαστε τόσο υπεύθυνοι για το μέλλον αυτής της χώρας, όσο και οποιοδήποτε άλλος. Αυτό είναι το μέλλον μας.
Τι κάνει αυτός εδώ? Αυτός δεν θα έπρεπε να είναι πουθενά.
Του ζήτησα να συναντηθούμε για να μοιραστεί μαζί μας τη δική του πλευρά για την κατάσταση. Τη δική του άποψη. Πριν αφήσουμε τον τύπο να τον κατασπαράξει ζωντανό.
Ευχαριστώ.
Είναι αργά για τέτοια. Κοίταξε αυτή την επικεφαλίδα. Οι άπλιστοι Έλληνες σπαταλούν οποιαδήποτε ελπίδα για επαναπατρισμό. Λες και δεν είχαμε αρκετά σκατά να αντιμετωπίσουμε μέχρι τώρα. Ένας λόγος παραπάνω για να εξαγριωθεί ο όχλος χειρότερα.
Γιάννη, η μεγάλη εικόνα.
Η μεγάλη εικόνα. Και η μεγάλη εικόνα. Εννοείς την αχρηστία σου. Την έλλειψη κριτικής ικανότητάς σου, Την επίπτωση που θα έχει αυτή η καταστροφική συνέπεια στις διεθνείς μας σχέσεις και στην οικονομία μας. Τη βοήθεια, τα νέα δάνεια που χρειαζόμαστε για να ξεπληρώσουμε τους δανειστές μας. Τη Γερμανία και στην Ευρωπαϊκή Ένωση. Τη βοήθεια που χρειαζόμαστε για την ίδια μας τη ζωή. Για να προλάβουμε μια επανάσταση. Τη μεγάλη εικόνα. Και έχει πρόσωπο αυτή η εικόνα. Το δικό σου. Και το δικό του.
Θα πρέπει να συνεργαστείς μαζί μου για την εκστρατεία μου.
Δεν μπορώ να αφήσω τον αγώνα που έχω ξεκινήσει. Όμως το ξέρεις ότι θα έκανα τα πάντα για σένα. Δεν μπορώ να αφήσω τον Αντρέα να καταστρέψει τη ζωή του.
Εσύ πάλι πίστεψες ότι θα μπορούσες να πείσεις τους άλλους ότι ήσουν τα πάντα τα είχες τελειωμένα για να σας στέλναμε στο Λονδίνο. Το είπα από την αρχή. Αυτή η υπόθεση της επανένωσης είναι περισπασμός και σπατάλη χρόνου και χρήματος. Τα υπόλοιπα νέα πες τα εσύ στον Προμάχο. Εγώ τέλειωσα με αυτόν.
Όταν ο Αντρέας έφυγε από την Ελλάδα πριν από τόσα χρόνια, δεν άφησε πίσω του μόνο εσένα. Άφησε πίσω του και το ελληνικό του πνεύμα.
Petro, I'm sorry.
Don't be sorry for me.
Τον άνθρωπο που βλέπετε, την καρδιά του δεν ξέρετε. Remember how it used to be?
Not really. I don't know what brought me back here.
I think it was a memory. Υπάρχει κάτι που πρέπει να ξέρεις. Κατά την επιλογή μεταξύ νερού και ειρήνης, έχω επιλέξει την ειρήνη. Η Αθηνά δώρισε στην ανθρωπότητα την ειρήνη. Η Αθηνά μας δώρισε την ελιά. Η ελιά είναι αϊθαλή. Είναι ένα δώρο από τους προγόνους μας. Αλλά είναι ένα βαρύ φορτίο. Πάρα πολύ βαρύ για ένα άτομο να φέρει.
Eleni, I have to go. I don't belong here. Βενιζέλος.
Άκου τη φωνή των ανθρώπων που σε μεγαλώσαν.
Κανείς δεν με μεγάλωσε.
Αθηνά, θεωμένους και εραστάς γενομένους αυτής.
Οι ελπίδες των ανθρώπων εξανεμίζονται. Είμαστε όλοι μόνοι. Ολομόναχοι. Ενώ θα έπρεπε να στεκόμαστε μαζί, να είμαστε μία ορωθιά. Υπάρχει ελπίδα για μας.
Παρακαλώ. Αλέξη, εσύ. Τι ώρα είναι εκεί? Όχι, δεν το ήξερα. Συγχαρητήρια. Τι εννοείς? Άμεσα.
So, what's so damned important?
Good evening.
Oh, don't say it's the Egyptians now.
What? No. Our dogged opponents are refusing to yield. A new Greek government has convened, and a splinter group of politicians are refusing to sign any more austerity measures until an appeal about the marbles has been heard at the ICJ. It's turned into a political movement.
Oh, when will these people ever give up? Since when did the Greeks ever care about anything?
I'm sorry.
I am flummoxed. I have had it with this prevailing sympathy for ungrateful good-for-nothings who have zero appreciation for anything that happened before the invention of pension plans.
What would you like me to do?
Nothing. They are not getting back what doesn't belong to them. They are our marbles, for God's sake.
This place used to terrify me when I was a child. All these petrified faces and nightmarish mythological beasts from the past, living in the quiet of these giant halls. Megalithic Ramses bearing curses and all. Of course, I see it differently now. It still unsettles me.
The ICJ. Ha!
Σου δίνουμε προαγωγή και μας το ανταποδίδεις έτσι.
Πες μας τώρα, εσύ βρίσκεσαι πίσω από όλα αυτά, Πόσα λεφτά σου έχουν δώσει?
Κύριε, δεν έχω σχέση καθ' οποιοδήποτε τρόπο με τα μέλη της ομάδας Πρόμαχη, ούτε με την πολιτική τους οργάνωση. Παρ' όλα αυτά συμφωνώ με τους στόχους τους.
Αυτό μας έλειπε τώρα. Μια ομάδα βομβιστών αυτοκτονίας να καταστρέψει όλες μας τις ελπίδες για την επόμενη δόση. Τι σόι άδρασης.
Δεν είμαι ο άνθρωπος τον οποίο θα έπρεπε να απευθύνεσαι. Ο άντρας αυτός είναι καθοδόν αυτή τη στιγμή.
Αυτό το κάνω για την Ελένη.
Και εγώ το ίδιο.
Αυτό που κάνεις είναι μικρότητα. Μια εκδίκηση για την αλαζονία σου.
Έτσι κρατάς όμοιρο την οικονομία μας. Ξέρεις τι ζημιά έχεις κάνει?
Οι άνθρωποι υποφέρουν εξαιτίας της αλαζονίας.
Οι άνθρωποι υποφέρουν επειδή οι δειλοί παίρνουν τη θέση των ηγετών.
Έλα. Απαράδεκτο αυτό.
Έλα.
Θα μας αφήσετε λίγο μόνους. Κάθισε. Εμείς οι πολιτικοί δεν είμαστε συνηθισμένοι σε υπαρξιακές αναζητήσεις.
Και αυτός ο άνδρας δεν είναι συνηθισμένος να ζητάει βοήθεια.
Τι χρειάζεσαι?
Την υποστήριξή σου.
Θα την έχεις. Πραγματικά δεν έχω άλλη επιλογή. Δεν μπορώ να κάνω αλλιώς. Όμως, θα ήθελα να ξέρω. Έχουμε καμιά πιθανότητα να κερδίσουμε?
Όχι. Αλλά θα το προσπαθήσουμε έτσι κι αλλιώς. Θα βάλουμε τα δυνατά μας. Σε αυτές τις πέτρες είναι γραμμένη η λύτρωσή μας.
The Elgin marbles are in the lawful and rightful possession of the British Museum, on display for the people of Britain and for visitors from around the world to gain knowledge and inspiration.
I am here today on behalf of the people of Greece and on behalf of the woman I love. And I beseech you all of a serious crime. Thousands of years ago, the people of Greece nominated Athena as their representative to the world. The chastity of her body and the strength of her resolve symbolized the pure and ultimate justice that she would provide.
This is the story of who we are. A reader of history will walk from room to room, like chapters in a great anthology, comparing the pinnacles of civilization side by side, and will come to the unavoidable realization that we are all derived from the very same human audacity.
Every Athenian knew the truth about the world through the story of the Parthenon, the grand pediment that depicted Athena's contest for justice to have its day over the people. The blood-soaked metopes that surround and shield the building from the chaotic world outside, showing that sacrifice and agony were necessary to protect the civilized society that flourished within the temple.
Art as such is a living memory, a voice of a people, a vision of an ideal. These treasures of the world are sacred. They help to weave a tale of common thread. It must all be cared for, as it is the only evidence we have of our divinely inspired origins.
As is the case, the people of Athena eventually yielded to the rage of the world. But for thousands of years thereafter, the physical Athena remained, withstanding an onslaught of erosion and damage from foreign nations. She bore it with dignity, as her armor became blemished with cannon fire. It was not until a contingent of men descended upon the sacred place, mechanically deflowering the defenseless goddess, cleaving the art from her unadulterated womb, that her divine mission was compromised. Athena's justice is as immaculate as her purity. However, her virginity, her very shred of incorruptness was stolen when the men sawed the stone from the pediment, committing an act of rape that has gone unvindicated for more than 200 years. Imagine that the defender of justice and civilization has been served the ultimate injustice.
Yes, at the time the pieces were mishandled by unguided hands. Now, we have the most renowned preservationists in the world caring for these national treasures. It falls upon the curators of antiquity to preserve those ideas that our predecessors authored, to speak them forward through time.
The Parthenon sculptures are not just the most famous artifacts of the classical period. They are its foundation. Those slabs bear the story of the beginning. They speak of a force that compels man out of the darkness and into a new world of philosophy, democracy, and enlightenment. Their ethics are written in stone so that they may outlive mortal men. The return of the marbles is our only chance to remember ourselves.
Do we want to see the museums of the world emptied? Do we want to rip out the binding and cast them into the wind? Because that is exactly what will happen if we set off on this rash and destructive course. Sending the marbles away from their current home of cultural exchange would reduce the world's knowledge. I beg you all, keep the Elgin marbles where they belong. Keep them safe and free from harm.
Reunify the marbles so that Athena and her people can be made whole. Reunify so that in their solidness, the Greeks may find meaning once again. Reunify so that justice may be served to its defender.
Someone needs to stand up for Greece. Make the case for her. Like the one who fights in the first line.
There is no divine justice, Andreas. There is only the justice that men and women are willing to fight for.
I'm fighting for divine justice. In front of this sacred temple, there used to stand a great statue. The bronze colossus at the front step of the Parthenon was named Athena Promachos. The statue was so imposing that the glint of the tip of her spear and the crest of her helmet could be seen as far away as Cape Sunion. Though the statue was long ago melted down and sold for scrap, and though all that remains today is a fragment of this statue's marble base, the great warrior still stands with any Athenian who is willing to defend her city's honor. And as gold represents enlightenment, it is bronze that symbolizes courage and duty. We chose a woman, Athena, because as men, we can love her. We can sacrifice for her to prove our love. We can stand with her in the first line of defense so that justice may have its day. Athena's line is invincible. It is one that in service of humanity defies both time and space. One that preserves in stone and metal the memory of our past, the story of our future. Standing in defense of what we hold most dear. The first line in history. The line that will never be broken again. The line of the Promachos.